Welcome to the Her Vibe is Pretty podcast, where you'll be guided on how to step up into your evolved woman,
design your dream life, and start living it. Let's get vibey.
What's up, Pretty Vibe Tribe? Welcome back to another episode of the Her Vibe is Pretty podcast. Mary, how you doing today? What's making you feel vibey? Share all of the high vibey things with us.
You know, I could probably talk about an entire episode about what I'm feeling vibey about. So last week, I kind of took the week off a little bit. I still had work to do, but I cut back a ton. Mm-hmm. And your girl, Mary and Ava, together, we binge watched Squid Game.
Dude, I cannot with you in the Squid Game. I saw you watching it. So I started and I'm like, what the fuck is this?
It's insane.
I've only made it. I watched episode 1 and like maybe a little tiny bit of episode 2. And I'm like, I don't know if I can do it.
It's not a show for you. I would come out there and say this is not a show for you, Sarah. Do not watch it. This show is like, okay, I would describe it. It's like a mix of Hunger Games, obviously. Mm-hmm. Also kind of like Hostel, which is like terrible, scary movies. Again, don't watch them. I hated them and they like haunt me to this day. Mm-hmm. A little bit like Hostel and a little bit like the movie The Purge. Did you ever see those where they wear the creepy masks? That's what reminds me of them.
Yep.
And you guys, this is like the #1 show on Netflix. Did you know? Okay, don't quote me on this. This may be the most watched show on Netflix that they've ever had.
Are you kidding me? Why is our society so fucked? Like, why is this the show that's popular?
Ooh, it's wild. I think, okay, so I don't want to give anything away about it, but it's so juicy. There's so many different twists in it. And I think the reason why is because people like choose to be there. Like that's the difference to me. And like Hunger Games, you get like drawn out of a hat and it's like, oh, see you never, like good luck. Where in this, like you choose to be there.
Yeah.
And I think that to me was like the big difference, but it's haunting. There's like a couple of the games that I still like, I get like shiveries from thinking about, but it was just so juicy. I haven't binged a show in so long and it felt so good to like, hey girl, what are we going to do today? Oh, Ava's going to nap on me and I'm going to watch this super creepy show on Netflix.
Yeah.
But this time of year, and this goes off what Sarah usually says, this time of year is like creepy season for me. So I love getting in the Halloween spirit, watching scary movies. And like, I listen to a couple of scary podcasts. So I really like Full Body Chills is one of my favorites. And then I listen to this other one called Spooked. And so I've been like listening to these scary stories like on my walk in the morning. Oh my God. It's so funny. I feel like it's like two different worlds. Like I'm listening to scary stuff on my headphones and like sweet little Ava is just enjoying nature and being outside and smiling and giggling. And she has no clue what her mom is listening to. But
oh my gosh, that'll be good to talk about in next week's episode, which we're not going to tell you guys what it is yet, but it goes hand in hand with what you just said. So bring that back up next week.
I will.
Oh my God, I cannot believe that Squid Games was your vibey thing today. But I am happy for you for creating that space and taking time to just like chill because that was so necessary.
It felt really good. So yeah, what are you feeling high vibe about?
I am feeling so high vibe about the fact that Zach and I created an Instagram account together.
Oh, it's so cute, you guys. Go follow it immediately.
At The Evolving Couple. I'll tag it in the show notes this week. Yeah, so actually this is inspired by you guys, you listeners. So I would say that one of the #1 questions that we get on the show is I'm into personal development. I'm here listening to the show. I'm starting to implement the work. I'm starting to embody. I'm really getting into like books and all these, morning routines, but my partner or my lover isn't. So like, how do I get them on the journey? Or we hear, and I hear this from you guys and also my clients. The other one is I'm on this journey. I'm serious about it. And I want to manifest. Maybe they're single. Like I want to manifest somebody who's into this stuff too, to be on the journey with me so we can evolve together. Mm-hmm. And Zach and I mean, that's literally what we have done and that's what we're doing. So like when we got together, I was pretty balls deep into this work. I was about 2 years on my journey and he had never meditated in his life. He didn't know what breathwork was. He had no idea what manifestation meant. And now he's like very into it. And of course he is very much so on the journey, like all of us are when we start. So he's not like, like super in depth into it yet, but he's definitely into it. Like yesterday, oh my gosh, this was so cool. So he's been studying like abundance versus scarcity because he didn't know what the energetics of that was prior to dating me. And yesterday, he is like one of the best money manifestors I know. He manifested a random check for $1,200 and then another one following that for 80.
What?
He was like, "What? This shit works." I'm like, "I told you, babe. Like, yeah, it does if you embody." Yeah, it was cool. So I'm feeling very, very vibey about starting that account. It's fun for him and I. It's just like such a good way for him and I to bond and to be silly together and at the same time provide value. I mean, I was telling Mary, you guys, before the show, we started recording the show, that yesterday I wrote a post. It was like a legit post, so like photo with caption. And the reminders I put in there, I needed to hear one of them really badly. Like I needed it. And I'm like, damn, if I need this and if this is hitting me, like, because the reminder I put in there was like, I'll just tell you guys the one I needed. It was that these journeys aren't perfect. They're very imperfect. And I needed that reminder. And it allowed me to shift into so much more compassion for Zach. And it just like made our day, because we had like kind of gotten into it a little bit over the weekend. And that reminder that we're imperfect with these journeys is exactly what I needed, to shift into love, compassion, and acceptance and like work through the challenge at hand with him. Mm-hmm. And of course he needed that energy too. So yeah, we started this, we're doing reels, and actually humble brag, but our second reel we ever posted is at like 31K views, which is fucking insane to me.
It's fun. Like, here's why though. I can tell you exactly why that one is going viral, is because it's fun, it's relatable, and it like just shows, like, that's what I think is gonna be so cool to see your guys' journey and share it on this Instagram, is because people are gonna see the real relationship.
Right.
And the fact that it isn't perfect. And you're going to share the parts that are like fun and you can aspire to, but also share the parts that are like funny and imperfect and like make the journey the juicy, fun journey that it is.
Yeah, for sure. I think like one of my motivations too for starting it was, before him and I started dating, I always thought that an evolved couple meant barely any problems, meant like nothing but unconditional love and support. And like, of course that's there. And we are all human. I don't care how evolved you are. Like, we are all human, and humans are all very different. We all come from different backgrounds, different wounds, different traumas, different limiting beliefs, different upbringings. Like, we're all so different. So I used to think that an evolved couple was nothing but peace, rainbows, and butterflies. And I would look at other mentors of mine and what they would post online about their relationships, and it looked like nothing but peace, rainbows, and butterflies. And then once I started to get to know some of these mentors a little bit more, I started realizing like, oh, they have challenges too, just like Zach and I do. Mm-hmm. And then that's when I started to realize that like, just because you're an evolved couple does not mean that there's always challenges, but there's a big difference in energy of like using, having these arguments and like letting them let you guys spiral and like
that's exactly what I was going to say is like the fights that Jake and I used to get in are so different than the fights we get in now. Yeah. It's like, we still have disagreements. He still does things that pisses me off, but the way that we come to the table about it is very different than the way that we used to. Like, old me used to let it just build up and kind of like dust it under the rug and not deal with it. And then we'd go out drinking, because like this was like back in college. And then I'd like let my guard down and be like, fuck you, about all these things that like built up. And it just wasn't necessary. It's such a terrible way to communicate in a relationship. Mm-hmm. And now him and I have both like grown and evolved so much to the fact that like, yeah, we definitely still have things that we disagree about, but it's nothing compared to the way we went about it before.
Right. And like for us at the beginning of our journey, we have an argument, and I didn't really know how to go about it because I was on the journey at the time, he wasn't. And now we both have this argument. We both use it first and foremost to reflect internally. Like, where am I missing the mark? So yesterday, for example, I was reflecting internally. I'm like, damn, I'm being a hypocrite right now. Like, I'm judging him for doing something that I used to do all the time in the beginning of my journey. Mm-hmm. But then like he used that, what had happened, he used that as an opportunity to look within himself. Like, why did I do this? Like, why did I do this thing? And so it's just a different energy. Like, we all still fight. And anyway, not here to talk about that today, but follow our account, The Evolving Couple, if this is intriguing to you, because so much more goodness to come. We brainstormed like a bunch of different tips and content we can provide. And so good things coming there.
Yay. It's so
Yay.
cute. I just followed them today and I can't wait to see the
Thank
more
you.
reels. I feel like Zach is going to make the best reels
Dude,
ever.
you just wait until you see the one I'm about to post. It's like a blooper one. Oh my God. I hope everybody else thinks this is funny as I do. Like, I think he's hilarious. And a lot of other people do too, but the one he posted and the story behind it is just so funny. So stay
If you
tuned.
can like make a video, a reel of like just clips of him dancing, I feel like that would be a good one too.
I will absolutely do that.
But on to today's topic, you guys.
All right, let's do it. I need it.
I need it too. And that is exactly how I will start this, because when we were coming up with what we wanted to discuss today, we both were like, we need grounding. And we kind of come from like two different like things that are going on in our lives, but we wanted to do an episode about techniques that we use and strategies that we use to ground ourselves when we're feeling just kind of crazy, whether it's in our mind and our bodies, like when life is just feeling like it's doing its own thing and you're just kind of there getting like tumbled around in the tornado of your life. So let's first just talk a little bit more about that, like what grounding looks like, why it's important, like kind of like situations that you might find yourself in, or like things you might be feeling when these techniques could be the most helpful.
Totally. Well, I'll start with what's active for me today, which is I just traveled over the weekend. So I flew out of town on Friday, got back yesterday. Yesterday was a very long day. We woke up at like 3 a.m. to make it to the airport, did a lot of traveling. I maybe took like a half-hour nap. And so now I'm starting my work week on Tuesday, kind of, because I kind of sort of did a little work yesterday. So that's a perfect example of like when I need grounding, which I've done some today, will do even more, did some yesterday. But I can still feel the chaotic energy in my body for two reasons. A, I started my work week on a Tuesday when it usually starts on a Monday. So like one less day in my work week. I typically have 5 days to create everything I need to.
Yeah, it throws you off, man. I know exactly what you're feeling. Or like it could be as simple as having like a holiday on a Monday.
Yeah.
You start your week on Tuesday and it's like your whole life is like, what just happened?
It absolutely is. I like looked at my calendar yesterday night and then again this morning. I'm like, wait, what? Tomorrow's Wednesday? Like, how am I going to do all these things? Like, I'm going to be working on the weekend. So that, and then also top it off with, if we're going to get deeper into energetics, flying in general is a very ungrounding thing because of course you're not connected to the earth. You are literally flying in the air. So that in itself can create a very ungrounded energy in the body. Not saying it's always bad, because I personally get really creative when I fly, but like, there's just like, you can feel the ungroundedness. So that's a good example.
I know for me, so I'll share where I'm coming from, and mine is stepping into motherhood. Yeah. Like if you are a mom yourself, I'm sure that you can totally relate to this. Even if you're just living a really busy life, I know for me, I feel like since becoming a mom, I just feel like life is just go, go, go. And it's funny to say that because I feel like I spend a lot of time sitting on my couch napping. Ava's napping on me, or she's eating or whatever. And it's like calm chaos, if that makes sense.
Yes.
But I'm always like not able to do things right away. So I'm feeling very distracted, or like, oh yeah, I need to remember to do that. But if I don't write it down, I like completely lose my mind, or I feel kind of like jittery a little bit, like, oh, I've got to do this, or I've got to do that, but I can't do it because she's napping on me right now, or, oh, I've got to go do this, or, oh, I'll wait until I call Jake after work. And it like, I'm not even making sense right now. And that's kind of, hello, my life. And so I feel like when you have that like distracted, jittery, just like disorganized feeling in your life, like that to me is a sign you need some grounding. Like you need something to kind of anchor you back into the present moment, bring you back down to earth, like get you out of, I say this in a lot of my yoga classes, like get out of the busy mind and into the body.
Totally. Absolutely. So just a couple other ones, like having a lot on your plate. So this week, like I said, I have a 4-day week and I have more appointments and calls this week than like I ever do, which is kind of odd, but that already is like throwing me into this very ungrounded state. So lots of things on to-do list, and I'm going to speak to this a little bit, but when you are like in a call or in a meeting and there's just like a lot going on, or maybe sometimes I'll be like coaching, and I know not everybody will relate to this, but sometimes I'll be coaching a client and there's just a lot happening in their life. So me being an empath and absorbing energies around me, sometimes I take that ungroundedness on, I can start to feel it in my body. So it's important for me to like ground back in so that I can hold them to their highest. Or like I said, like meetings, like maybe you're in a work meeting or a Zoom meeting or a Zoom call and there's just like a lot happening. You can sometimes start to feel that. So,
and I think one last one that I want to add
Mhm.
here too are like transitions, and that can
Yeah.
be a whole lot of different things. Like, so
Mhm.
right now we're kind of going through a transition of the seasons. Like we're
Mhm.
heading from summer into fall.
Yeah.
And so you can feel a little bit of that energy during transitions like that. So that's sort of like a nature example, but even a transition, like whether you're starting a new job or doing something a little bit different in your life that you haven't done before, or you're in a new relationship, or you move to a new place, or like anything that's kind of fresh and new and out of your ordinary routine, even if it's a really good thing, can kind of like throw you off your groove. And, that can be a chaotic energy that you might be feeling in other parts of your life.
Totally. So one thing I want you guys to tap into is literally like the body, like we're saying. So chaos, I do believe like thoughts come from, or feelings come from thoughts majority of the time. Not all the time, but majority of the time the thoughts create the feelings. And so pay attention to how the ungroundedness feels in your body, because if you do, that way you'll be able to identify it even more.
So where do you,
So
like Sarah, where do you feel ungroundedness energy in your body typically?
so I feel it in the head for sure. So I'll get like a tension headache. And that's the thing too, you guys, a lot of times physical ailments and physical pains are directly related to emotions. And that is so true for me with headaches. Usually when I have any sort of a headache, especially a tension headache, it's because there's chaos happening. So I feel it in the head. Sometimes my head will just feel like very heavy or like a balloon, like just expanding, like about to burst. Sometimes I'll feel it like in my like torso area, because the feeling of chaos for me, the sensation of chaos feels a lot like the sensation of anxiety. And so that'll happen like in the chest. It'll be like contracting or heavy in the chest. But I would say it's mostly active for me. Like it's heavy in the head.
Yeah,
What about for you?
same. I feel it totally in my head.
Mhm.
I feel like I can't even put a thought together.
Mhm.
And I feel like my words don't make sense, and I kind of am questioning everything. And it's like someone is grabbing my head and kind of like just jumbling it around. Like I just
Yeah.
feel like there's no order and there's no rhyme or reason. And I'm just like a blah person. I don't even know how to put it into words.
No, you don't need to, because I think we all understand that. So moving on, like why do we need to ground? And obviously the first very obvious one is, who wants to feel like that? Who
Yeah.
wants to walk around with headaches or not being able to put sentences together? Nobody. But also, if you live life from that chaotic place, you're never going to be able to tap into your inner wisdom. You're never going to like, just think about it. Imagine work for a second, just like the work environment, your career in general, whether you're a business owner or not, doesn't matter. If you show up to work, your work that you need to do that day from a place of, I am feeling so chaotic versus I am feeling so in my center and at peace with who I am, which version of you is going to be more productive? Which version of you is going to create better projects and content? And which version of you is going to be able to communicate better? Which version of you, this is a big one, which version of you is going to be able to do the inner work more? Meaning, when you show up to your workday, it's pretty common that we get triggered in our work days, right? And you guys all know, if you've been listening for a while, you know what triggers are. You know that triggers are an opportunity for growth. Which version of you, the version that's feeling very chaotic or the version that's feeling so at peace and in tune with themselves, is going to be able to actually use triggers for growth? A lot of the time when I'm feeling chaotic and I'm just stuck in that chaos and I'm triggered, my chaos just spirals and I spiral. But if I'm feeling at center and in peace and in tune with who I am, and there's a trigger, it's more easy for me to step outside of the trigger and observe it and actually use it for growth and like evolvement.
Yeah, such a good point. The one thing I'll add to that is when you're living in that chaotic state, time flies by because you're not being present with anything.
Yeah.
Your mind is just up in the air. You're jumping from one thing to the next. You're not giving yourself that space to be present in the moment and enjoy the moment.
Yeah.
Because you're so like chaotic and up in your head. And I know that's like one of the things I've struggled with. Again, coming back to my example of becoming a mom. And now I feel like I don't want to miss these moments because I'm all busy thinking about like all these other things I need to be doing instead of being present with my baby, with whatever we're doing together.
Yeah.
And that goes for anything. Like I feel like another example of this, of not being present, is people on their wedding day. So everyone will say like your day flies by, like you, because you're in this like hype, excited, chaotic at times state of mind. There's so many things going on all at once. It's a ton of emotions. Like all of your family and friends are there. You know, you're making one of the biggest decisions and commitments of your life. It's like such a beautiful day, but it can be and feel very chaotic. And if you don't give yourself that space to like anchor down and like come back to earth and like be present, it's going to just go by in this huge rush and you're not really going to soak any of it in.
Yeah. Last thing I want to say, and I'm curious what you think on this, but I don't even know if the people have to be an empath, but I feel like that energy transfers to others. I know it does to me. If somebody walks into my house, I'm feeling peaceful and they're in a chaotic state, I know instantly. And I can feel that in my body. And if I'm feeling like chaotic, overwhelmed, and I'm experiencing those sensations, and my partner gets home from work, it becomes very clear that he can feel that energy too. And it's just hard for us to connect. I'm curious, have you noticed at all, like when you're feeling those sensations, do you feel that Ava's like more fussy or just more like antsy?
Yeah, I have for sure. And so one of my things is not, I feel like because I'm sort of always feeling this sort of like, oh, I've got to do this. I got to do this. I don't notice it in that aspect of just like my everyday life. But when she is like crying or having a meltdown, if I and I can feel like my heart starts to race, I start to get a little bit sweaty, like I can feel like my blood pressure rising and I'm trying to calm her. But when I'm able to come to that situation from a calm state, I do feel like my energy transfers to her. Like I feel like she can tell like, oh, mom's stressed out too. Like I don't like this. And she cries even more, where I do feel like sometimes when I come to that situation with that calm energy and I take a deep breath, I'm able to calm her down better. But it's the same example of like you were saying when you're showing up to work, like what state of mind are you going to be able to calm a baby down when you're stressed the F out and like you want to scream and cry yourself, or when you've taken a deep breath, you realize you just need to calm her, hold her close, hug her in.
Well, I personally know I can think of somebody right now who is always in that chaotic state. Like this individual specifically has not come across this work yet, and nor has she come across like meditation or anything. And I can just feel the massive anxiety that she struggles with daily. And her kids are fucking crazy. Like truly, like they are the definition of chaos. And that adds even more chaos to this individual's life and to the family's life. But I just feel like it transfers. And if you're a parent listening, like don't judge yourself if you are always about chaos. Like literally, this is why we're creating this episode, is just to remind you how important it is to like actually practice the things we're going to share and come back to your center as much as you can. And it's not going to happen overnight, but like actually some of these things literally can happen like right now in this episode.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so
they're basic.
Yeah. Like I had an example. And so like, do you want to just dive into them? So one of the things that I would recommend is having some guided meditations on hand. And you've got tons of resources right at your fingertips. Sarah has an incredible inward and upward meditation membership. I've got a couple on my app. It's one of the areas I want to grow more on mine because meditation is just such a powerful tool. There's tons of apps like Headspace, Calm, Insight Timer. I mean, you can go to YouTube and download some and just have some handy. So this is a really cool example. What made me think of this one is I had an app meeting and it was one of those days where, again, like chaos, like the babysitter was running late and Ava was having a meltdown and I had to do like a quick pass off before I hopped right into a meeting with my app developers. And I didn't prepare for that at all. And I was like trying to figure out what I was going to say and what we needed to cover before, while the baby's crying. And I feel chaotic just sharing that. And we got into the meeting And I just sort of shared that. I was like, whoa, I'm sorry. I feel like I'm just very scattered right now. And my business partner, Sunny, goes, how about we just meditate for 3 minutes?
Mm.
And I was like, yes. So what we did, so this is where I'd say have a grounded or a guided meditations handy, like either on your phone, or what we did was he just set his timer for a few minutes, 3 minutes. And we all just closed our eyes and just sat in the moment for 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It was like pressing the refresh button.
Yeah.
It is incredible what a couple minutes will do.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're new to meditation and the thought of even just doing that sound daunting or scary, that's why I recommend guided meditations first, just because that can be a little bit of an easier way to get yourself into it. It gives you something to focus on. Because again, our busy minds can just like go off and do their own thing. And this makes it so much better to just come down to center. So that is my first tip. And I can say firsthand, like we did that. I felt so much better. I was so much more productive. In fact, everyone else in the meeting was like, thanks you guys. Cause we all needed that too. So I think we should all start our meetings with
meditations. I love it. So humble brag part 2, I guess I'm just sharing all of these braggy things that you guys say, but very shamelessly. My grounded meditation in inward and upward is fucking amazing. And I do it all of the time.
Ooh,
so it's 10 minutes and you guys can get a free trial of that. So go to my link in my bio on Instagram, get a free trial and try it out. And another thing that I want to say, and then I'm also going to move into my tip, or one of my first tips, which is super effing simple. And you guys can literally do it throughout your life. But Mary, I want to add on to what you just said. Another reason why we should come back to center is because of the law of attraction. Your energy is literally creating your reality. So if you feel chaotic, you better bet that you're going to manifest and attract more and more things into your life. They're going to add to the chaos. So kind of like Ava was fussy, babysitter was late, like all those things kept piling up. It's like law of attraction 101, baby. Mm-hmm. Like energy attracts like energy. So the quicker you can come back to center and take the tips that we're sharing with you today, the more smooth your life is going to be.
That's
so my tip.
Freaking true.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So just so true.
My tip is, so like I said, I worded that weirdly just now, but my tip that I'm sharing with you is these are things that you can do, practices you can do while you're literally in the middle of something. So maybe you're in, like I said, like the middle of a meeting or a group call and you're feeling like there's a lot of chaotic energy. Maybe you are a coach, or maybe you are like a guider or a leader in some way, and you're feeling your client's chaotic energy. Maybe you are with your baby and your baby is like really upset, or your kids, and like you're feeling their chaotic energy. These 2 things, you can do them literally in the middle. Like you don't even have to stop to do them. You can do them as like, I can literally do it right now as I'm speaking. So first and foremost, for both of these, your feet need to be flat on the floor. So for me, in my mind, when I put my feet flat on the floor, I instantly, boom, I'm like groundedness. Like that's just my symbol for myself of groundedness. So even just intentionally putting my feet flat on the floor instantly brings more of a calm energy into my body. So feet flat on the floor. So maybe you have to stand up, or maybe you have to like uncross your legs or whatever. So do what you got to do, feet flat on the floor. And I'm going to give you 2 options for things to visualize. So the first one is to visualize tree roots coming out of the bottom of your feet, like literally visualize tree roots attached to your feet. And you don't have to do this with your eyes closed. I'm doing it right now as my eyes are open. So visualize these tree roots attached to the flats of your feet, grounding in through the floor, whatever floor you're standing on, whether it's a house, an apartment, a building, grounding through the floor all the way down into the earth. So like you're visualizing tree roots attached to your body, attached into the earth. So once you get that visual, what you start doing is every time you inhale, you visualize the earth's grounding energy, because the earth is literally like the most grounded thing. I mean, it is ground, right, in itself. You visualize the earth's grounded energy coming up through the tree roots, through your feet and into your body. And then with every exhale, you visualize sending your chaotic, stressful, anxious energy out of your body, down through your feet, through the tree roots and into the earth. So just doing that visual is game changing. So that's visual number 2, that's visual number 1, or visual number 2 is you can just put your feet flat on the floor. And as you breathe, start to visualize a white light coming up and through your body. So your inhale pulls the white light up out the top of your head. Your exhale pushes the white light down through your head, through your body, and to your feet, just back and forth. And you just visualize yourself pulling this white light in, up, and around, flowing this white light through your body, through every cell, through your veins, through your bones, through all of it. That can make you feel really grounded. So once again, 2 visuals, 2 quick things that you can do to just feel that. I do them all day, every day, truly, whenever I'm feeling scattered.
I love that. I really love the true roots one. That's really powerful. And I already feel good just listening to you say it.
I'm so glad. So yeah, that one's very, very powerful. Mary, what else? What else can our listeners
So
do?
the next one that I really love, it's probably biased because I'm a yoga teacher, is moving your body, doing yoga. And I think the key for yoga in particular is having that emphasis on the breath and giving yourself something to focus on. So I know for me, the routines that I find the most grounding, and there are like certain specific grounding yoga routines that you can do. Some of them are like literally like you're seated and you're doing all positions close to the ground. For me, I like to get into almost like a moving meditation. So for me, it's more about repetition. So I can get out of that busy mind, focus on the breath and move my body and let my body flow with my breath. And that just helps anchor me into the moment. And for me, that's very grounding. So that a lot of times looks like sun A or sun B flows. But then I'd also say that if you want something that's maybe less like cardio or like less intense, like at night, for example, if you're like, I've had a craziest day ever, I would definitely recommend doing something that's a little bit more calm, longer poses and holds for poses that are like anchoring you onto the ground. So what comes to mind for me is like pigeon pose, which is really good for the hips, some seated stretches, and then like doing some things like on your back, recline twists, and then like an extra long, juicy shavasana. That would be such a good way to just really unwind and connect inward.
Do you have a specific grounding practice on your yoga app?
You know, I don't have one that specifically says grounding in it, and I'm like feeling like I need to make one.
Totally should.
Yes. The ones that I would recommend that are going to be the most grounding would be the stress relief category on the app. So I have an entire category that has some of those really like calm, deep practices. And then as far as something that's like more repetitive, I do have a few on there that are like sun A, sun B, just like repetition. Like it's there's no flow. It's just flowing through that sequence a few times.
So
but check out the stress relief category on the app because that would give you a lot of options with some more grounding. They don't specifically say grounding in the title, but that's ultimately what they are.
Love it. All right. So the next one, this is another one that you guys can do so quickly. You can take as much or as little time as you need to. It's something called earthing. So you take your socks and shoes off and you go outside and you walk on the earth. So maybe you're walking on your yard. Maybe if you work at the office, I don't know. I mean, earthing's like a pretty big thing in the holistic health realm. I don't know. I know that they really recommend like grass or sand or dirt, but I feel more grounded even just from walking on cement. So just being with my bare feet out on the earth is very powerful. It actually, there is science behind this, and I'm not going to share it with you, but I did learn in nutrition school that there's science with the ion transfer that literally physically, scientifically helps you feel more grounded. So once again, this can be something that's so quick. Sometimes when I'm feeling chaotic and scattered in my workday, I will shut my computer. I'll take my socks off. I will literally just go outside and do like a quick circle around my yard with bare feet, and I'll come right back in. And I feel so much better doing it. So that, or this is what I also do a lot, take a thin blanket or a tape. Is it a tapestry or a tapestry?
I say tapestry, but I don't know if that's right or not.
Tapestry. We'll go with that. Take a thin blanket or a tapestry outside and set it down. So once again, if you work from home, you can do this there. If you work remote, in the office, you can also find some kind of area outside, I'm sure, where you can take this, set it out on the ground somewhere. So in your yard or in a park or on a patch of grass near the office, sit on top of it and do your work from there. So bring your laptop or bring your cell phone, take your calls from there. If I'm catching up with somebody via FaceTime or a call, I usually take them outside and sit on the earth while I'm doing that. So once again, those are very, very quick things that you can do that will help you feel so much more at peace and grounded in your day.
Yeah, that I completely agree with. Just getting outside. I know for me, so this isn't necessarily grounding, but for me, it's like just getting some fresh air can feel
Yeah.
so good and so grounding. And for
Mhm.
me, I have like a little, like a back patio deck, but it's like raised. So I'm not on the actual ground, but sometimes just getting out there, like feeling the sun on my skin, feeling the breeze, taking a couple deep breaths
Mhm.
is really powerful. But I definitely second what you say about getting outside and getting like your feet in the grass is can be a very grounding, powerful practice, and it doesn't need to be extravagant. So
Yeah, for sure.
that's really good. Get out there and breathe some fresh air, you guys.
Yes, it feels so good.
So I know this one is a little easier said than done for me at least, but my tip is to get away from everything.
Mhm.
So shut the laptop, take your phone, move it away from you so you can't grab it, and like just get away from the things that are distracting you and like just take a freaking moment for yourself.
Yeah.
And I know like I have to consciously do that. That's not something that comes very easily to me.
Mhm.
I feel like my phone is always like right by me or my computer is always open, like showing me what I should be working on. And it just adds to that distraction. Or
Yeah.
for me, like with my phone, that impulse, like I just need to check and see what's going on all the freaking time. So get away from it. Like shut it down, turn it off, move it away from you so it's out
Mhm.
of your grasp and like just give yourself some space to chill out for a bit.
For sure. So going along with that, taking breaks is so powerful.
Right.
Also easier said than done, but it doesn't need to look like. So I'm going to give you guys two examples. First of all, I moved my phone out of my room today. I took it from my office to my bedroom and I plugged it in there and I went back. A lot of the times lately, that's what I've been doing when I'm feeling this chaotic energy is moving my phone completely out of the room, out of reach. Because that's just instantly, you guys, a big part of the chaos feeling is being overstimulated. When you're overstimulated, there are a billion thoughts happening in the mind, which is going to create those sensations of anxiety and chaos and scatteredness. So the less stimulation, the better. So another thing that I did today was I was feeling that a little and I got a call. And a lot of the times I have really, really strict boundaries around answering calls and texts throughout my workday. And so a lot of the times I'll ignore the call and I'll call that person back after I'm done with my workday or when I'm taking lunch or whatever. But today I saw the call and I'm like, you know what? I can feel the chaos. I need a break right now. This is the perfect opportunity. So I grabbed my phone and I walked out into the kitchen and I took the call and I started I can't remember what I did. Maybe I started doing the dishes or something. And then at the end of that call, I kept doing the dishes, which that was like a perfect break for me. So that's another thing too, is you can incorporate quote unquote productive, even though I don't love saying that, but like you guys know what I mean, productive things into your groundedness. So
Mhm.
doing the dishes makes me feel really good because I have a clean house and it helps me feel more grounded because I'm getting away from stimulation and the chaos. Or doing the laundry, flipping the laundry, that's a great little break. So breaks are so good for grounding. And sometimes I'll just literally shut my computer and look out my window for like 3 breaths and then I'll move on. Another big tip that's sort of simple is eating root veggies.
Oh, yum.
Yeah. Eating root vegetables root vegetables, they literally have roots and they grow like deep in the ground. So they have that energy within them. So eating root vegetables can be extremely grounding. Some examples: beets, onions, sweet potatoes, carrots, parsnips, and plan ahead. So for example, this week, like I said, it's a 4-day week, have lots of calls, lots of meetings, lots of things happening. What's in my fridge right now? Sweet potatoes, parsnips, Brussels sprouts, actually. I think
Mm.
sweet potatoes and parsnips and Brussels sprouts are all I got, but still, that's 2 grounding vegetables. That's going to be so nourishing for my body and my emotional state this week.
Yeah, and freaking roast those babies. Like
Ugh,
roasted root veggies
yeah,
are my favorite thing about fall.
so good.
So good.
All right,
Our
let's
last
move
one,
on.
you guys, can you believe that we have gone this entire episode without saying this? So we saved it for last. The last tip is to breathe.
Woo!
You
The
guys
breath.
know it. We love breath. We love breath work, but we wanted to share a couple kind of specific practices that you can do. And I want to share a couple that I kind of turn to. And Sarah, I don't know if you want to add anything on that, but
Mhm.
With the breath. So one of my favorite exercises is, I call it like a 10 breath countdown. And it doesn't mean you breathe for 10 seconds or anything like that. You're simply just counting down your breath. So you'll take an inhale and you'll exhale. And that was 10. And then inhale, exhale. That's 9. Obviously make them deeper than this, deeper, longer, the better. But you just do that all the way down to 1. Very calming. It gives your busy mind something to focus on. It tunes you into your breath. It's such an easy yet powerful practice that I want you guys to try. The other one is, again, pretty easy to remember. This one is just a 4, 5, 6 breath. So take an inhale for 4 counts, hold for 5 counts, and then slowly exhale for 6 counts. And then just repeat that a few times. And that again can help you. Like, to me, it reminds me of when I had that meeting and I was feeling crazy and it was like, okay, reset button, like do either of those breath patterns and you'll feel so much better and just more refreshed and more aligned.
Yeah. And I would say, to add on to that, try to do those in through the nose and out through the nose. If you can, of course, if you have a stuffy nose, don't worry about it. It'll still work. But in through the nose and out through the nose really activates that rest and digest system, that nervous system that will help you feel more centered and grounded. And so just to add on to that, this one is just something, once again, kind of like the first tips that I gave, that you don't even have to stop and intentionally do it. Belly breathing. So breathing in through the nose, filling up the belly, letting the belly expand, and exhaling, letting the belly contract. That belly breath is so, so, so great for that resting, calming state. And it's something that I'm always doing, whether I'm typing an email or, I'm trying to intentionally do, especially if I notice that energy. While I'm on a call, while I'm recording this podcast, I belly breathe a lot as we're recording the podcast to stay in my center. So that's something that you can just simply add on. And there you have it, you guys. So many different ways to get grounded. Now you know why you should do it, you know how it will start to change your life, and you know how to do it. So take your favorites and embody them, try them out, and let us know how they go. And once again, you have Inward and Upward, which you get a free trial for that in order to try that grounding meditation there. And you have Mary's app. She has some on there as well. So you can try those guided meditations, or you can just start with the simple belly breath and watch how it changes your life.
Yeah, I needed this episode. These were all things that I need to be doing more of in my crazy life. And I can't wait to dive into them. And I can't wait to hear how they start transforming your guys' life too. So
you guys, I'm going to ask one favor of you today. And that is, if you haven't rated and reviewed the show yet, I know we have a lot of new listeners, so, which is exciting. Welcome to the Pretty Vibe Tribe if you're new. But if you haven't rated and reviewed the show, please do that. It is literally the best gift that you could give us in return for producing these episodes, because as you share your ratings and your reviews, we help so many other people find the show, because rating and reviews with podcasts are really what gets your show in front of other listeners. And of course, if you find value from the show, we'd love for you to rate and review it so that somebody else who needs the wisdom that we share here can hear it as well. So rate and review us. If you're not in our podcast group already on Facebook, you can join us there. Her Vibe is Pretty Podcast. Type it in. You'll see our group. Request to join. There's lots of good stuff happening there. Connection with our listeners, value through breathwork and through other things too. So join us there and connect with us on Instagram, obviously. All the links for all of that is in our show notes. So head there, and thank you guys for listening. We love you.
We love you so much. Bye.
Bye.